All right, we're in section 8.3 on simple interest. What you'll learn this section is how to calculate simple interest and the formula for future value. So simple interest, well, this is the interest basically we're going to look at is the amount of money that we get paid for lending or investing money or that we pay for borrowing money. When we deposit money in a savings institution, the institution pays us interest for its use. When we borrow money from that same institution, interest then is the price we pay for the privilege of using the money until we repay it. Now, the principal is the amount of money that we either deposit or we borrow. Simple interest involves interest calculated only on the principal. And so that's the most basic kind of interest we can get. And so it's also the easiest calculation. Now, to calculate simple interest, it's just going to be equal to the principal. Again, how much either we deposit or borrow, times the rate in a decimal format. So if you have a rate of 7%, that's going to be 0.07 times the time, basically how much time is associated with the rate. So if for this chapter, basically in this section, all rates are going to be assumed to be per year unless otherwise stated. So if they tell you so many months, you have to divide that number of months by 12 to get the fractional part of the year. So we'll look at that here in a little bit too. So, but basically it's really simple. It's just I equals PRT. So just that simple formula there is going to find us the interest. So here it says you deposit 3,000 in your account at your town bank, which has a rate of 0.9%. Find interest at the end of the first year. All right, so let's write down what we know again. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Well, with the principal is $3,000, so that's going to be 3,000. The rate is 0.9%, but remember we have to convert that to a decimal, so that's 0.009. So it's going to be 0.009. And the time is 1 year, so times 1. And so now if we take 9 times 3, that's 27, and there's 3 decimal places here, so that's just going to give us $27. So that's how much interest we will get at the end of the first year. All right, what about this one? A student took out a simple interest loan for $2,400 for 2 years at a rate of 7%. What is the interest on the loan? Well, again, we're going to use exactly the same equation. I equals P times R times T. Now, P is going to be this. This is going to be, again, as a decimal, so that's 0.07. And key here is now we have 2 years. So it's going to be 2,400 times the rate, 0.07, times the time of 2. And now I can't do that one in my head. And so we'll go over here and we'll use our calculator. And so we'll have the 2,400 times our rate, which was 0.07, times the time, which was 2 years. And so we get $336. All right, so then that is going to be $336. And so that's how much interest we get for, or how much we have to pay rather for the loan for 2 years. All right, so in banking, there's been several things going through as far as how things worked. A normal year is 365 days, and so that would be what we would use for most cases. In leap years, it'd be 366 days, but we don't really worry about that. We just take the average of 365. Now, the banker's rule says, okay, well, we're going to use 360 days for a year to simplify problems. Now, this is a leftover thing from before calculators, and really it benefits the bank by resulting in a greater period of time for the loan and thus more interest gained for them. Now, with the widespread use of calculators, computers, the government agencies and the Federal Reserve Bank calculate simple interest using 365 days in a year now, as do most credit unions and banks. However, there are still some institutions that still use the banker's rule of 360 days in a year because it produces the greater amount of interest for them when they've loaned money. So, for problems, use 365 days unless it specifies a banker's rule or it specifies 360 days. So that's going to be kind of a key to note in these things. Okay, so let's stop there and then we'll come back for future value.